Hello. Let's talk about this week's homework. Let's start with question 1. The beginning inventory was $12,000 and the ending inventory is $4,419. What entries are needed at the end of the fiscal period to adjust merchandise inventory? The first journal entry that we need to record is to move the beginning inventory to income summary. We do that because the assumption is that the beginning merchandise inventory has been used up and should now become an expense for the period. We record this entry by debiting income summary for $12,000 and crediting merchandise inventory for $12,000. The next step is to set up the ending inventory as merchandise inventory on the balance sheet. We do that because the ending inventory is related to purchases we have previously made and recorded them as expenses in our income statement. So we now need to move the expenses equal to the ending inventory to the balance sheet. We record this entry by debiting merchandise inventory and crediting income summary for $4,419. Are you ready for question 2? For question 2, we need record 5 different journal entry adjustments. We'll go through them one at a time. For the first journal entry, we need to record an allowance for doubtful accounts. So let's read the directions together. During the year 2021, Samsung Company had net credit sales of $1,010,000. Past experience shows that 0.5% of the firm's net credit sales result in uncollectible accounts. So we would multiply the total credit sales of $1,010,000 by the experience percent to get an estimate of how in total amounts we may lose because credit customers did not pay us. We would record that amount by debiting uncollectible account expense, which is an expense account, and crediting allowance for doubtful accounts, which is a contra asset account. Let's look at the next exercise. Equipment purchased by Park Consultancy for $25,520 on January 2, 2021, has an estimated useful life of 8 years and an estimated salvage value of $1,200. What adjustment for depreciation should be recorded on the firm's worksheet for the year ended December 31, 2021? What do we have to do? Step 1 is to subtract the salvage value from the purchase price. We then divide the Step 1 amount by the useful life and determine whether to book depreciation for an entire year or just a few months. In this case, it is an entire year because the equipment was purchased on January 2, 2021. We are now ready to record the journal entry by debiting depreciation expense and crediting accumulated depreciation. The next journal entry is a wage accrual of $5,100, which means that we need to debit wage expenses and credit wages payable. The last 2 journal entries require us to calculate payroll taxes and then record those entries by debiting payroll tax expenses and crediting the applicable liability account, such as Social Security tax payable. That now brings us to question 3. Let's read it together. On December 31, 2021, the notes payable account at Vanessa's Boutique Shop had a balance of $120,800. This amount represented funds borrowed on a 6-month, 5% note from the firm's bank on December 1. Record the journal entry for interest expense on this note that should be recorded on the firm's worksheet for the year ended December 31, 2021. Step 1 is to calculate the annual interest amount by multiplying the note payable balance by the interest rate. We then need to determine the number of months that we need to accrue interest for. Please look at when the funds were borrowed. In Step 3 then, we divide the amount from Step 1 by the number of months from Step 2. We are now ready to record the adjustment by debiting interest expense and crediting interest payable. Let's now move on to question 4. Programs Plus is a retail firm that sells computer programs for home and business use. Programs Plus operates in a state with no sales tax. There are 9 adjustments we need to record and then prepare classified financial statements. The first step is to prepare the worksheet by first transferring all of the account balances and the appropriate debit and credit balances. Be sure to total the debit and credit column and double-check that they are the same before you continue on to recording the adjustments. Please take a look at the adjustments that need to be recorded in the worksheet. Let's do the first 2 together. Ending inventory as merchandise inventory on the balance sheet. We record the first entry by debiting income summary and crediting merchandise inventory for $77,375. We then record the second entry by debiting merchandise inventory and crediting income summary for $69,350. The next entry is the allowance for doubtful accounts, which we first need to calculate by multiplying the credit sales by the allowance percentage of 0.5%, which is $1,300, and then record the allowance by debiting uncollectible accounts expense and crediting the allowance for doubtful accounts for $1,300. The next adjustments are for supplies on hand, expired insurance, depreciation expense, accrued interest, accrued salaries, and Social Security and Medicare taxes. Please record all of those adjustments in the worksheet, calculate the adjusted trial balance, and then extend those balances into the income statement and balance sheet columns. Next, you'll prepare the classified income statement, which I have started here already, and the statement of owner's equity. In the requirement 4, you'll prepare the classified balance sheet based on your worksheet, and then record the adjusting and closing entries and the reversing entry in requirements 5, 6, and 7. At the end, you will need to analyze the change in owner's capital account. This is question 5. The worksheet for Bridget's office supplies contains the following revenue, cost, and expense accounts. Prepare a classified income statement for this firm for the year ended December 31, 2021. The merchandise inventory amounted to $58,075 on January 1, 2021, and $51,025 on December 31, 2021. The expense accounts numbered 611 through 617 represent selling expenses, and those numbered 631 through 646 represent general and administrative expenses. So, looking at the list of accounts, the list starts off with sales for $244,200 and sales returns for $4,180. Those are the first two accounts we need to enter on our income statement. Let's do that now. There you have it, sales $244,200 minus sales returns and allowances of $4,180 equal net sales of $240,020. Next is cost of goods sold. This section begins with the merchandise inventory as of January 1st, then we add purchases and freight in to arrive at delivered cost of purchases. We then subtract purchases returns and allowances and purchases discounts for net delivered cost of purchases. Finally, once we subtract the merchandise inventory as of December 31st, we arrive at the cost of goods sold. Net sales minus cost of goods sold is gross profit on sales. What is left to do? Sort the expenses by selling expenses, which are accounts 611 to 617, and general and administrative expenses, which are numbered 631 to 646. This is question 6, and there is a lot of information here for Bridget office supplies. Most of it you won't need to complete the balance sheet. We have all of the balance sheet accounts listed here, as well as the owner's equity accounts, and we have the net income. So, let's get started. We start with the asset side of the balance sheet and enter the current assets of cash for $8,805 and the change fund of $410. Next, we'll enter the accounts receivable and subtract the allowance for doubtful accounts. Hope this gives you a good start. Finally, here is question number 7 for this NBSP income statement, and we need to record the closing entries. Do you recall how to do that? The first entry closes all credit balances to income summary. The second entry closes all debit entries to income summary, the third entry closes the drawing account to capital, and the fourth one closes income summary to capital. To give you a good start, I've added here the first journal entry. That's it for this week's homework video. Please remember to use the Check My Work feature and that you have 3 attempts on every homework. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions.